Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Burgundy Zone. I am Kyle, joined by my co-host Michael Hall.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Back again. Training camp coming up. Hope everyone's excited this week.
Camp starts. It's great marketing because guess what? Breaking news coming today: the Redskins have cut Mason Foster, which gives them $4 million in. Foster, is this a smart move by the Redskins?
And Mason Foster wasn't going to be a starter anyway. He's going to be a rotation type player. And let's be honest, in coverage, Mason Foster is probably like the lower half of the middle linebackers in the league. He's getting up there in age. He got a lot of mileage on him. He's been cantankerous in the offseason towards Redskins fans. SAT word of the day.
Yeah.
And but other than that, obviously the $4 million. Me personally, I'm pretty sure it's going to go to Brandon Sheriff where they need to get the extension done. Me personally, with the history of Monte Nicholson having concussion injuries and stuff like that, I'd rather see him go after a Trey Boston or a who's the other dude the Giants brought in yesterday?
Giants brought in. I'm not sure. I didn't see
anything. Yeah, they brought in Trey Boston and they brought in another safety. He's been around the league for a couple of years now. Pretty solid player. I'd rather see them go after them, maybe sign them for like a vet minimum or like a $2 million deal or a 1-year deal, something like that. But like I said, I have no quarrel with them cutting Foster and probably giving that to Sheriff.
Yeah. I 100% agree, without a doubt. The question I have is the timing is what is the weirdest part about the situation, because they could have pulled the plug on releasing Mason Foster a long time ago in the offseason. It had nothing to do with how much he was getting paid, but the Redskins saved $4 million. The biggest question that we have right now is it going towards Trent Williams or Brandon Sheriff? It has to go between the two of them. Who is more pivotal? Who is more important to the Redskins offense right now? And that is my biggest question, because the Redskins still rushed for 1,000 yards last season without Brandon Sheriff. Given Trent Williams was on bum knees, he was hurt, but they were still able to rush for 1,000 yards. Now, if you were to pay Sheriff and say, you know what, Trent, we're going to bank on you not showing up, whatever have you, I think that's a problem. Now, in a fantastic world, in a perfect world, I'd like to be able to use that money to disperse between the two of them. But it's already being talked about that Brandon Sheriff is going to be commanding a $15 million contract, and so it's going to be a lot. The biggest question I have is, who gets inked first? Is it Trent playing his politics well, or is it Sheriff who's playing the waiting game and they know they have to get it done for him?
Pivotal, I would probably say as of right now, this season, it'd probably be Trent going forward this season, but in the long haul, you need Sheriff there. We need that next cornerstone of the offensive line like Trent's been for the past 9 years or whatever it's been. So, yeah, I mean, like you said, I'd rather see it split between two and two. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, is $2 million really going to make Trent come back in, like, in training camp? Like, so give the whole $4 to Sheriff. Tell Trent you're not going to miss 16 game checks, so just show up. If you want to leave next year, do what you do, but it is what it is.
Exactly. And look, you have to sit here and tell Trent, hey, are you going to do the Lev Bell treatment? Are you going to sit out for the whole year? The Redskins aren't going to trade you, because I'll tell you right now, the Redskins aren't going to trade you because they know it immediately makes their offense garbage, hot garbage, giving it that. And what are teams going to give you? A first-round pick? So this year, you're basically throwing this year out the way by trading away Trent Williams. And Dan Snyder does not want to do that, given with how much money that he wants to make with fans coming to see games. And Trent Williams is the biggest star on this team right now. I hate to say it, but he is. And he's the one guy that Redskins fans can really put on their back and say, we have a star here, one of the best in the league. Besides Jonathan Allen, who's still kind of coming into his mold, the Redskins really don't have anybody else like that right now. And so it makes a lot of sense for the Redskins to pull the plug on Trent. Get Trent to camp. Then work on Sheriff. I thought they should have extended Sheriff way earlier in the offseason, but obviously money is a funny thing with negotiations. The timing is just the weirdest to me, and it reaps of desperation, which makes me think it's going towards Trent. Because Trent not showing up for training camp, and then the day after it gets reported that Mike Garafolo from NFL Network is saying that Trent's not showing up for training camp, the day after that happens is when they release Mason Foster and open up $4 million in cap space. So it reeks like it's for Trent.
Not only just that, obviously Brandon Sheriff's on his rookie deal, so they can still, if they need to or want to, they can just franchise him next year. And that way he doesn't have to come back, but that way he's under our control for that next little fifth-year option, and then they can extend him. It's just, you don't want a player like Sheriff to hit free agency, because what if he hasn't signed a tender, and then another team offers him something more, and the Redskins probably going to get outbid by any other team in the league because cap space troubles right now. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, like I said, in the long term, it definitely should be Sheriff getting this $4 million or whatever it is they give to him. But in the short term, we need that staple in the left corner, the left tackle, the silverback, Big Trent.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, this is what the Redskins have to do for them to be successful this season, and it is Trent Williams. And they have an outlet with Brandon Sheriff. And look, we can sit here and say, well, you have an outlet with Trent. He can just sit out the whole season. He's going to play. I understand. But this is one of the best stars of your team. This is a guy that literally should retire a Redskin. He has put his heart and soul into this team. He's played on bad knees. He's given it his all. He should be paid this money just for the fact of punching Richard Sherman in the face in that 2012 playoff game that we lost. The way that Sherman treated Pierre Garçon, hitting him after the whistle, just trying to get him riled up. And Pierre Garçon's a feisty guy, but he doesn't want to get flags thrown on him. See what Trent does? Trent says, you know what, screw it. I don't need the flags. Wait, I'll see you at midfield, and I'm going to hit you right in the face. That is what DC needs. They need that pride. And Trent Williams brings that to this city, that organization. I think he's worth the extra money. I know a lot of people, one guy on Facebook was coming at me, and he was saying, well, like, what? Oh, that's pussyfooting around. You're babying these guys. You're kissing their ass. Hold on. I work construction. I'm all about putting the hard hat on and just going to work and doing your thing. The problem with this situation is the Redskins know without Trent Williams, they have nothing. It doesn't matter what they do offensively. They have nothing without Trent Williams. He's using his leverage, and which is a good thing, just like Kirk Cousins. I can tell you right now, the Redskins don't want to get back into the franchise tag with the whole bullcrap that went on with Kirk. They don't want to get back into that circus. They're going to get Brandon Sheriff done. I think you're right, and you're smart in saying that they could do it the end of next season before he hits the market. And that way, look, Brandon, we're going to pay you, bud. Just wait a year. We got to pay Trent to make sure Trent's here. If we want both of you guys here, this is the only way it's going to make it work. And that makes a lot of sense in my opinion.
See, the problem, if I was like the front office people, like a Kevin Schaefer type dude. What's his name? Kevin Schaefer? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kevin Schaefer. I would tell him, like, straight up, like, look, if this was like a Patriots or like one of the top tier organizations, Eric Schaefer, that's what it is, Eric Schaefer. If this was like the Patriots or the Falcons or one of those top tier organizations, the Steelers, they could just tell Brandon Sheriff on good faith, hey, just play this year out, you're gonna get your money, blah 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 blah. But because we have Dan Snyder and Bruce Allen, the two snakiest snakes in all the NFL, it's like, can you tell Sheriff, hey, just sit back, wait, play this year out. We'll get you out of the way next year. We got to have Trent in this year, blah, 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 blah. So, I forgot what I was going to say.
My God.
Nah, my phone went off and I just lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? Oh, so it's like, can you go on good faith and tell Sheriff, hey, we got you next year and just play this year out. You're going to get your money. Next year there's going to be even bigger market, like by a couple $1 million per se. Most likely. So it's just like, play this year out. I know you have injury risk. You're going to get your money regardless. Let's just all come back as one unit and get this year done.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And hopefully that's what the Redskins go towards. But also with the cut of Mason Foster, not only do the cap space have implications for the future moves and who's possibly going to be playing on the offensive line this season, but the implications of the middle linebacker position as well. They drafted Cole Holcomb in the later round of the draft this year, the North Carolina leading tackler for North Carolina last year. Not a big guy. He's very fast. So he ran a 4.3. 4.4 as a middle linebacker. So he's a special teams guy, but it also shows the Redskins' confidence in the guys that they draft. And there's only one guy in that middle linebacking core that they haven't drafted, and that being John Bostic, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers and other couple teams, but he's a big special teamer. So it kind of, something is eking here, and maybe this is a lot of confidence in Ryan, the coach. What's his name? Rob Ryan. A lot of confidence in Rob Ryan being able to elevate the play of Sean Dion Hamilton, being able to make John Bostic into a starter, not just a special teamer. Can Rob Ryan do that? But also, you have guys like Cole Holcomb who need to start up and get underneath of you. And the biggest problem with the injuries with the Redskins organization, you have to worry about injuries. And are the backups good enough? And that's where I had the biggest issue with this releasing of Mason Foster. Because I'm sitting here saying, wow, the middle linebacker position is very, very thin, until I thought of something. What if they try out Ryan Anderson, the middle linebacker?
Yeah, that could be definitely a thing. He's definitely a good run stopper, so he could be a good force in the middle as a run stopper. Obviously, in the passing game, he has speed to cover from side to sideline. It's just, can he stick with those tight ends or those little crossing routes on the underneath receivers in the slot? But that's a good theory. Like you said before, like the timing of it is kind of weird, but again, it just reeks of desperation as far as we got two people that are disgruntled contract wise. We got to do something. So let's just cut Mason Foster. They might have moved off him anyway before the 53-man roster is in the preseason anyway. So I guess get out in front of it now. Give Sheriff or Trent, whichever one, the money now and move forward from there.
Yeah, it almost seems like the Redskins are trying to call Trent on his bluff. By saying, pay me my money and I'll show up at training camp. And so if they pay him the money, you better show up to training camp. And I think that's what the Redskins are sitting here saying is, after so many years of going through this every offseason with Kirk Cousins and the franchise tag, are we going to pay him? Do we want to go through another year of doing this with Trent Williams and Brandon Sheriff, knowing what happened to the relationship between us and Kirk with this negotiation process? I don't think they want to even get close to that with Trent. Trent deserves more respect than that, and hopefully they pull their heads out of their asses and like they're doing, and they make some moves and get it done.
100% agree. Like I said, we need those two cornerstones on the left and the right side of the line. If we want to win, if we want to get to where we want to be, if Jay Gruden want to keep his job and keep coaching the Redskins, which, let's be honest, I don't know if he really does or not. But, yeah, if he wants to get where he wants to be, keep his job, the team wants to have success, you got to start with what we did last year, which was have a stable line, a stable running game, continue drives, keep on third down, keep it moving, let the defense rest so they can build up and get their energy back. And that's a recipe for success in 2019, it looks like.
Yeah, yep. I would have to imagine. I actually was talking to a buddy on Facebook the other day, talking about the USA Today coming out with the predictions of the 2019 season, the Redskins being 3-13. It was his prediction. And he was sitting there saying, I just don't see anybody being a actual force on offense to a point where teams are scared. That's why I don't think you guys will be in the positive. And, I understood. I agreed. I didn't think 3-13 was any bit of the imagination possible. But he was a Ravens fan, the guy I was discussing this with. And I was like, look, if anyone on here that would agree with great defense, a solid running game can get you into the positive record-wise, you should be on that boat. You should be in heaven right now because that's what you had just experienced the past 20 years. So I thought that he would easily be able to reciprocate that, but he was basically saying, I think that you guys winning 5 games is the lowest of the low. I don't think it's anywhere close to that, but I don't see you guys reaching 10 wins.
I've been saying it all along, even after the draft. I've been saying I like the moves they made in the as far as free agency and in the draft. This can definitely be all health, wise included, and positive. This could be a 9-win team, maybe even 10 wins, give or take a game or two throughout the season that you win in the first half that you should lose. And, I could definitely see them as a wild card type team. I said that, like I said, you know this. I said this from the get-go. I'm not going to move off my statement when I said that. I think it all just comes down to they were 6-3 last year with Alex Smith pretty much playing like his first year in Kansas City and in San Francisco years. Just mediocre at best. But he protected the ball. We had a solid running game, solid defense. we've upgraded the defense this year. Like I said, through free agency and through the draft. The offense, I can definitely see where people are going with it, but let's be serious. Case Keenum's more of a gunslinger than Alex Smith, so he should be able to get the ball down the field, distribute a little bit better. The run game coming back with Darius Geis should add another spark, another level of explosion. And Paul Richardson coming off injury, we'll see what happens with that. But the 2 rookie receivers that we drafted, and I think is going to play a huge part because. Let's be serious. You can't get much worse than Josh Doxson at this point. You can only go up at this point. And I like what I saw in many camps from the rookies. And from all accounts, Terry McLaurin is looking like the next guy up in the Redskins organization.
Yeah, and you can't rookie minicamp. Now, he's going against a corner who was wearing 24. It wasn't Norman. It was rookie minicamp, so nobody get confused like me because I'm a big dummy. But Kelvin Harmon runs a out route about 10, 15 yards out and completely leaves the corner over in PG County while he's over in Ashburn. He absolutely, that was a veteran route. And obviously, look, these fundamental drills really benefit the offensive player because the secondary guy doesn't have any help behind him. That being said, the way that he's moving, the way that he breaks his hips right before he plants his foot and goes outside, that's veteran stuff. That's detailed stuff. And Kelvin Harmon already doing that. Given the fact that he's a 6th-round pick, I think that is one of the biggest steals of this draft. And just by seeing that video alone, I'm psyched. Yeah. Because we talked about this before. Who was going to get more snaps on offense? Offensively on any of these rookies, I personally thought it was Wes Martin. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Kelvin Harmon. Yeah,
like I said, going back to McLaurin, from all accounts in minicamp, he was killing it as an outside receiver and a slot receiver. He's an excellent special teams player. So that's going to be enough coming full effect and great effect, just and huge impact. But like I said, I just think it'll be McLaurin because we need that kind of outside third receiver to go with Richardson if he's healthy. Obviously, Trey Quinn in the slot, who should have a huge year this year. Jordan Reed on the tight end. So all we're missing is that kind of Z, outside speedy, deep threat receiver. And with McLaurin running the 4.4, 4.3, 40, and already having the connection with Dwayne Haskins from Ohio State, I think it's only going to bode well for him going forward. And like I said, if Richardson can stay healthy, McLaurin can stay healthy, which he should be able to because he stayed healthy throughout college. Kelvin Harmon coming in, I think this receiving core can surprise a lot of people this year.
I agree. I do think that Jay Gruden's system really does benefit wide receivers. We saw with Kirk Cousins that the offense can move well as long as somebody can hit the wide open guys. Now, the question was with Kirk was could he hit the tight windows and the guys that were going to be open, and that's where Kirk is kind of messed up there. But that being said, Dwayne Haskins is going to be able to orchestrate Jay Gruden's offense. The only question is, will the Redskins keep Jay Gruden around long enough to allow Dwayne to do that? But that being said, I love the wide receiving core. I know when you look at it on paper, it's one of the worst in the league. It's not something to boast yourself about. But when you look at it from a future aspect, looking at it 2 or 3 years down the road, I'm incredibly excited. I think this is going to be a very good wide receiving core. We forgot about Trey Quinn and Cam Sims. These are young guys that could possibly make their mark in the NFL. And we have heard nothing but great things about Cam Sims and Trey Quinn. And these are from Redskins players that just, for no reason, put their name out there. It wasn't like this is somebody that they drafted very high up and they need to put, this isn't guys just boasting up Josh Doxson just to make him look good. These dudes are really coming out saying, dude, Cam Sims is a baller. Dude, Trey Quinn is unguardable. Nobody can stop him.
Hopefully he can build off of last year. Like, he did the same thing last year, had a great mini camp, had a great preseason, came out, obviously got injured. So he was injured for pretty much the whole season.
So he did come back at sorry.
No, he came back at the end, but by then it was kind of just like, eh. So let's see if he can build off of a great mini camp, a great preseason. Hopefully he can stay healthy, and if he can get some reps, then that would be great for us going forward because he's a nice, tall, speedy receiver that can break the top off the coverage. And another name people have actually forgotten about, Robert Davis. Mm-hmm. Jay Gruden came out in the press conference about 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe a little bit less or more, give or take, and said, This guy coming off the injury is what he should have been, or is what we expected him to be last year. Coming off his breaks, crisp, great hands, big, tall, strong body receiver, which is what the Redskins desperately need. So, yeah, like you said, this receiving core, I can see it surprising a lot of people this year. And like you said, with Kirk Cousins only hitting the open receiver, Case Keenum's more of a gunslinger. He'll take those chances. Will they work out for us? We'll see. But I have a lot of faith that the offense this year can be in the top 15, top 16 of the league.
I definitely do agree with you there. They can. The defense is legitimate, and it is. It needs to be talked about, but a couple blows to the middle linebacker position now is making you kind of question things with the defense, but the fact being is the big boys up front are going to make life a lot easier for those middle linebackers. And I think having that weight of telling our defensive line and Jim Tunstall, like, hey, you guys are going to have to do double the work. You're going to have to work hard enough so our middle linebackers, because they're not world beaters, but you're going to have to give them a chance, and you can't let guys get by you. And giving them that challenge, I think that is the position group you give that challenge to on this team.
Definitely, without a doubt. And they actually have a lot of depth going forward. Tim Settle, of all accounts, has came in this year after a year in the system, a year on the NFL workout regimen. By all accounts, he's looking like the Incredible Hulk out there, just super swole, cut, ripped, like a young Aaron Donald, some might say. And the sleeper from the Browns out of Florida, this is his second year in the league, Caleb Brantley. I know he only got a couple reps last year. He was a really, really low rotational player. But again, all the beat reporters have been saying that him and Tim Settle are going to have a huge, huge, huge role in the defense this year. They're going to be huge as far as rotational players. If you look at the defensive line last year towards the end of the season, they got kind of drained down and worn out due to the offense being lackluster, obviously, but also they're rookies and second-year players coming in from a college season, which is only 10, 11, 12, 13 games maximum. So, yeah, but those two players come in rotational-wise. I think that the D-line is going to be top 5, which will help the linebackers out, which in turn will help Josh Norman out, getting back to his Carolina days where he can maybe possibly jump some routes, get a little picks, cause some turnovers, which is what the Redskins desperately need again on defense this year. So, yeah. And also, don't sleep on my man Jimmy Moreland.
Ooh, cannot forget about Jimmy Moreland, my friend. That guy is a baller. But that being said, other news have broken. The Cincinnati Bengals did extend Tyler Boyd. The rumors have been going around all season that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to possibly move A.J. Green or Andy Dalton. And them inking Tyler Boyd right before the start of the season, right before training camp, kind of tells you maybe they are making a move at A.J. Green. Maybe they will get him out of there and have Tyler Boyd being the number one, which would make a lot of sense. So fantasy football guys, if you have a early kind of draft, maybe let's say early to mid-August, because generally that's early for me. And we don't like drafting until right before the season. We would love to be able to draft Wednesday night before the opening game on Thursday night, but we don't like doing that because we like to be able to drink and have a great time and making it all-day festivities, and we can't do that on a weeknight. So what we do is we schedule it the Sunday right before the first game. So if you have an early game, if you have an early draft, early August, mid-August, take advantage of Tyler Boyd because there's a chance he could be the only wide receiver in Cincinnati worth taking this year if they do move A.J. Green.
Just based off a rookie head coach coming in this year, I think that this is definitely going to be A.J. Green's last year in Cincinnati. There was a bunch of rumors going around earlier in the offseason that he could potentially come to the Redskins in the trade. Jay Gruden's worked with him before in Cincinnati days, and A.J. Green obviously put up huge numbers back then. But I definitely think that Andy Dalton is definitely his last year at Cincinnati. I think there's going to have a whole new regime come in. Obviously, Zach Taylor from the Rams. Mm-hmm. He drafted Finley at NC State, so he might get some reps this year depending on how their schedule goes and how many losses they have early on. And if he shows something, then Andy Dalton's definitely out the door. And I think, like I said, A.J. Green, I don't know what his cap number is, but I'm going to assume it's probably high for the team. Mm-hmm. He'll probably be out the door. And I just think maybe even Geno Atkins on the defense might be out the door next year. So I just think it's a whole new switch around and a whole new change around in Cincinnati. And it's going to start with Tyler Boyd heading off that offense with Joe Mixon. And, yeah, like you said, Tyler Boyd, a great fantasy receiver going forward. Definitely a receiver number one, I think, in my opinion. And Joe Mixon, obviously another great RB1. So, yeah.
They are. It is a good team, and a lot of teams when they start from scratch, because the Bengals obviously know they have to rebuild this thing. They know that with the roster they have, they can't really construct a Super Bowl winning team within 3 years. It just doesn't make sense fiscally with the way the contracts are working out. So you have a brand new head coach. You want to rebuild this thing. What's the first thing you do? You get rid of your blue chips. Get as much as you can in return, just like the Browns, Giants did. This is what you do. You get rid of your guys. You rebuild. This is what the Steelers should have done 5 years ago. I talk about this every podcast, but it's all good. That being said, hopefully the Bengals do move A.J. Green. Hopefully it's not within our division. Unless it is to the Redskins. I would like to have A.J. Green. Obviously, their relationship with Jay Gruden is very close. They know what each other likes and they know what the system is. It'd be an easy transition. But that being said, let's end the NFL talk for right now. But let's move to breaking news for DC Sports. The Wizards have finally announced that Tommy Sheperd is the active GM, and he is taking over all activities. Are you happy with that decision? Because I really like the homegrown giving guys promotions from within, and unlike the Redskins, who love just let guys leave and not pay them at all. But the fact that them doing this actually shows a lot to Tommy Sheperd. Like Danny Roulier was saying on 106.7 earlier, was he involved with Ernie Grunfeld? Was he getting into spats, arguments with Ernie about what decisions Ernie wanted to make? Was he a yes man? Because that's not what we want here. We want someone making their own decisions. And I think that is a question that seriously needs to be answered. I don't know what you think about it.
100% agree with the move. Obviously, it was probably a known thing that he was going to get the job anyway, just because it's already been through the whole offseason pretty much of the NBA season. But definitely a great hire. This is a move that a lot of people say should have happened a year or two ago, just to move off of Ernie Grunfeld. A lot of people were skeptical in the beginning because he's been with Ernie for the whole time, 16 years. So people thought he would be just like another Ernie clone and do what Ernie does. And it's clear that he's doing the complete opposite of Ernie Grunfeld this year. He's accumulated more second-round picks, which is what Ernie never did. He got rid of them. He's drafted young, great players, which is what Ernie kind of never did, outside of John Wall and Bradley Beal. Yeah, well, we like you said, listen to him 106.7. Sounds like a great guy, a real just genuinely driven, just hardworking guy. He wants to instill that into the franchise and the organization. They hired JT3 from Georgetown to be a front office like basketball analytics guy type. They hired Sashi Brown, which is kind of like this. At first, I was kind of like, what? Like, you started in baseball, and then you moved to football. Now you're in basketball. I'm like, pick a sport and stick with it. But with basketball being, like, pretty much all analytics nowadays, it kind of makes sense that you would bring in one of the top-tier sports analytics guys in the business. Let's just hope that he did what the Browns did what we did for the Browns and acquire a bunch of draft picks for us, and then we fire his ass and get him out. And we turn him around.
Yeah, I'm really glad that Tommy Sheperd learned a lot from Ernie Grunfeld, and what I mean by that is do the complete opposite of what Ernie would do, because he has done a fantastic job so far, and I love the JT3 hire, the Sasha Cohen thing, that Sashi Brown, that makes Sasha Cohen. That's the guy that directed Borat. What the hell am I talking about? But Sashi Brown, it's a curious pick because he hasn't found his home yet. You know, he left a home to go to a better place. They said, no, we don't like you here. So he didn't go back to baseball. He said, you know what, fine, I'll go to basketball. So I'm just wondering how long it is until he goes home, honestly, because I feel like this is just a vacation for him. Maybe teams are just using him to get off the ground. But obviously the way that he conducted himself with the Browns, I don't want him having that much input into player management and player personnel, because obviously he has no idea what the hell he's talking about. Analytics, that's fine. You could tell me who needs to make the shot where, who shouldn't shoot where. That's fine. That's great. But don't talk to me about who I should have on my team. I think that's stupid because obviously you have no idea what you're talking about. But that being said, the Wizards also offered Bradley Beal the max contract, something that was expected. Glad they didn't pull the trigger with the Heat. we didn't want to fully embrace the rebuild. I wasn't ready as a fan to be able to put those golden days to rest. And the golden days, I mean, was when you were watching the Wizards and you were hyped about the future. You're saying, man, in a year or two, this team is going to be able to contend with LeBron, maybe possibly get a title, just get deep in the playoffs. They were never able to get there. And the fact that they would trade away Bradley Beal would basically mean that era was over. And it would be hard for me to do that. And so I'm glad they didn't pull that trigger. And hopefully Brad takes that deal.
Yeah, by all accounts, Bradley Beal wants to stay here. He wants to be here. He wants to build a franchise that's like worth playing for, contending for championships every year. He wants to have his name retired in the rafters when he obviously his career's over, and he wants to bring a championship down to Washington, which hasn't been done since the Wes Unseld days.
What, the 70s?
Yeah, the Bullets, Wes Unseld days. So I definitely like the move by extending him. That's a nice asset. I like the move by extending him or offering him the extension. 3 years, $111 million. That'll put him here for the next 5 years at least, minimum. And I like the plan they have going forward where John Wall's not going to play next year, obviously. But I'm in the 1% of people out there that thinks that John Wall is like one of the hardest working people in the game. And if anyone thinks differently, then they're just stupid. And I just think that he'll be smart enough to realize I'm not going to be that fast, twitchy, up and down the court type player anymore. I need to work on my jump shot more. And if he can develop a mid-range and even like a slight three-point shot when he comes back, and he's at least 80% of John Wall, which is better than 75% of the point guards in the NBA, I think that the Wizards will be in a great, great, great space with 80% John Wall that has a slight or a better jump shot. Bradley Beal, who's a budding superstar. Natsumura, who can be a 20-10 guy if he develops right. Where do you re-sign Thomas Bryant, who's a developing big man? And who was that fifth player I was going to say?
Not Rui.
Nah, I already said him. Oh, the dude we acquired from Tennessee.
I know.
I just had his name on the tip of my tongue, but he's a great guy, 4-year player at Tennessee. Played point guard growing up, and then obviously hit a growth spurt and moved him down to center/forward. Has a great post game, and I just think that with John Wall, Natsumura, Beal, and if they can add another either high draft pick or superstar type player, I think that within 2 to 3 years from now, the Wizards will be back up in the top 5 of the East, and hopefully, God willing, competing for titles.
Hey. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We will have a new episode coming out in 2 days. The start of training camp is on Thursday for the Redskins, so keep your eye on it. Also, Nationals are doing well right now, split 2-2. Got postponed last night. Hopefully, they'll get Max back 100% and start getting on a roll for the end of the season.
Yep, Nats tonight, Strasburg. Hopefully, you can get 10 Ks or more than that tonight. Training camp on Thursday. And with that being said, it's been real, everybody. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes. Look us up on YouTube, Facebook, Burgundy Zone. And let's go. Redskins football. Woo!
Redskins football. Woo!